Hi, my name is Sam Carwin, and I'm Interfaith Alliance's Reproductive Health, Rights, and Justice educator and advocate. And this is our lesson that we did about consent and healthy relationships. I wanted to start by telling y'all a little bit about me and my personal background. For school, I studied child, youth, and family studies. I then went on to get a teaching degree with a focus on special education. And I'm currently attending United Theological Seminary, working towards an MDiv with a concentration in social transformation. A majority of my social services background has been supporting children, youth, and families, and working towards reproductive justice. I had the privilege to work at a domestic violence and sexual assault shelter, and I learned so much during my 10 years there. And I continued to build on that when I was doing teen pregnancy prevention. I attended K through 12 Catholic school, and in that setting, I was able to learn a little bit about sexual health, but consent is something that wasn't talked about then that I know is important that we continue to talk about today. There are particular qualities of a healthy relationship. It's important to think about what are those qualities that matter to you and how those might differ from one person to another. Someone might say that communication is important to them, but what's the frequency look like? What's that mode of communication? Is that a text message? Is that a phone call? Is that a video chat? Right now, with everyone dealing with coronavirus, it's harder for us to communicate face to face in the ways that we're used to doing it. So it's important for us to think about other ways that we're communicating and empowering the young people around us to think about what their preferences are in communication and how do they relay that to a partner. Perhaps one of the qualities you think is important is someone to be loyal or faithful. But what does loyalty and faithfulness look like to you? For some people, that might be conversations that you engage in. For other people, that might be physical acts that you engage in. So it's important to break that down for you and a partner. There's a variety of other qualities that you might find important in a relationship. And as you're talking with partners and friends and family around you, to not only say a word, but define it for them so that you're both on the same page for what that means to each of you. Perhaps you've heard of love languages before. It's a very common thing that people talk about, and it's important for individuals to feel loved in the way that they like. Sometimes people have different love languages, and that's perfectly okay. But the more you talk to a partner, the more you can figure out what their love language is. Once again, that doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. That can be in your friends, in your family, or in your faith tradition. What are the ways that people like to be appreciated? So words of affirmation. So that's an unsolicited compliment. That might be kind words, words of encouragement. So what are you doing to other people around you to offer encouragement to help them maybe overcome some insecurities or develop more confidence? Quality time. What does that mean to you? Is that saying your time engaging in conversation, that you're spending time doing a fun activity, or you're just being together in a physical space together? So thinking about what quality time means and sharing that with a partner, it's important during that quality time that people are really listening and taking time to have fun together. Acts of service. So that's doing something that's helpful for another person. So that might be picking up chairs and trash. So that way another person doesn't have to do that. That might be cooking. A young person might cook for their parents or wash the parent's car. Maybe it's doing laundry for your significant other so they don't have to worry about it. So it's a particular task that you're doing so that someone else doesn't have to do it. And it's important to challenge the stereotypes about who can do what and to talk about that with the young people around us. Touch is hard to do right now with currently dealing with Corona, but it's important to think about what are those ways that people feel connected. Is it important to someone that you're holding hands when you're together? What are your boundaries around if you kiss in public or not? How do you set boundaries around hugging? If you're working with young people and they want to run up to you and give you a hug, how are you setting the boundaries around that? Maybe you can do a high five. The last love language that some people find appreciative is receiving gifts. So this isn't about the monetary value. It's about the fact that someone was thinking of you and wanted to let you know through this gift. It could be a favorite treat that you picked up on the way home, or it could be a card that you threw in the mail. It's important that we can talk lovingly to those around us, but it's also important that we can handle when disagreements occur. So one thing to think about is, what is each person's apology language? Is it important to me that I can express regret? I want to know that someone deeply understands how their behavior hurt me. Perhaps you might say sorry, but the important part is you're being specific. So you're saying, this is what happened that made me upset, and that you can show that remorse, not just in the moment, not just because you got caught. For other people, it's important when someone's apologizing to accept responsibility. So what did you do or say? Acknowledge that what you did was wrong and just name it. You're not gonna say, well, I did it because of this or that. There's no excuses. It's just about accepting fault for the behavior that you engaged in. Sometimes people find it important to request forgiveness. So those are the particular words that I want to hear. I want someone to say, I'm sorry, do you forgive me? It's a way to know that the statement they're making is sincere. But we want to be patient with people, because everyone can apologize at their own rate. Some people might need some more time or more clarification on what it was that they did that was upsetting. What does it mean to genuinely repent? So that's when someone can hear a desire and a plan on how you can change that behavior in the future. It's making that 180-degree turn, not making excuses and saying, I'm sorry, this is what I'm going to do differently, so this doesn't have to happen again. How can we make restitution? So not just say we're sorry, but how do we make it up? So if I made a mess, I can clean that up and own it. So I want to say, this is behavior that I did. I'm going to know that I maybe didn't act the most lovingly, and how can I make amends for that particular act? How can we encourage that for the people around us? That yes, it's important to forgive others and for them to repent and express their regret, but the ultimate thing is them making restitution and showing what others need to do in the future. So everyone has relationship rights. What are those things that are important to you in a relationship? And this is something that everyone has, and we want to be mindful how we're showing to someone else that this is important to us. So you deserve privacy, both online and off. So no one's going through anyone's phone, and that goes for adults and young people. How can we build trust in those relationships? Everyone deserves to feel safe and respected. What makes me feel safe might be different than what makes someone else feel safe. So we're going to want to talk about how I can feel safe in a situation and how I can ensure those around me also feel safe. Each person gets to decide who they want to date or not date. I'm not going to say, oh, I want to go on a double date, so you have to go out with this other person too. I'm going to think through the ways that I'm making a choice, and I'm allowing those around me to also choose. Choose when and if they want to have sex and who they want to have sex with. And we'll talk a little bit more about consent, but it's important to recognize in that relationship the when and if. You have the right to say no at any time, even if you've said yes before. You have the right to hang out with your friends and family, and be mindful when you have a partner who doesn't want you spending time with those who are important to you. Do things that you enjoy without someone getting jealous or controlling. You want to be able to have fun and not feel guilty for the fun that you're having. If you recognize that this relationship isn't right for you, or maybe it's not healthy, then you have the right to end that relationship. And ultimately, you should be free from violence and abuse in all relationships. That's not just intimate relationships. In your friend group, in your faith community, those cannot be places where someone is making you feel a negative way, is controlling, or abusive in any way. So let's get real. Let's get into consent. So consent is permission for something to happen. It's an agreement to do something. And it's not just sexy, as people say, but it's mandatory. It's something that there's no blurred lines on what did or didn't happen. There's clarity, that I gave consent and this is what consent means to me. There are 3 different things that people will generally give consent about. So consent for their body. You might say to a small child, is it okay if I give you a hug? Or encourage them to have consent for their body. For your property, I'm going to ask someone if I can borrow their phone. I just need to make a quick phone call. My phone's dead, but I'm going to ask for that permission for their property. And then there's consent in our reputation. So what are the things that it's okay for you to share with other people that I shared with you? How am I telling people private information or public information that you're okay with me sharing? Consent is something that can be given and taken away. As you can see in the graphic, it says, you want to watch Pulp Fiction? And the person says, sure. A half hour later, they realize, I'm not really liking this. Let's do something else. And their friend gets upset. They say, no, you said you'd watch this movie, so you're staying until it's done. That's not fair to their friend, and we can change our mind sometimes. So it's important that people are recognizing that and being okay. Consent is active. So just because someone says yes or no, we want to only listen for that yes, and we want it to be an excited yes. It's based on equal power. Both people in the relationship have the same amount of power. Thinking about what this might look like in a faith community, who has more power than another? Is someone maybe under the influence? There's a choice that's being made. So we make choices, and our partner gets to make choices as well. And there's no pressure there. I can't say, well, but I did this thing for you. I'm not putting anything else. I'm letting them make an authentic choice. And it's a process. It requires ongoing conversation. We're working to build trust. Just because someone says yes to making out, that doesn't mean that they want to do anything more. A great acronym is FRIES. So consent is freely given. Once again, that's no power and there's nothing hanging over someone's head. It's reversible. I can change my mind at any time. It's informed. So when you said that word, we discussed what that word means to you. It's enthusiastic. I definitely want to do this. And it's specific. Once again, this can be in an intimate partner relationship, or it can be in a congregation setting. So if I'm asking someone to help out, are they enthusiastic about it? Do they know all that it entails? And ultimately, if they decide it's not something what they want to do ongoing, how can they quit or make that known to me? What are you eating? I personally love pizza, and pizza is a great acronym and way to think about consent and sex in different ways. So if I say, hey, I want to have pizza, I'm desiring it and I'm choosing to have it. And I'm talking to other people. What do you want on your pizza? Maybe we're negotiating. I don't really like onions, so maybe we can do pepperoni. Or how about we just do it on your side and not on my side? Maybe we decided today we want it, but next time we'll have something different. After, you're going to talk about, are you satisfied? Maybe I want something more. Maybe I'm still hungry. Maybe I didn't finish what I got. So we're having conversations not just before, but during and after. When you think about pizza, you can communicate about when and what you want and the way that you want it. And sex should be the same way. Another thing to think about when you're thinking about pizza or ordering pizza, it's cooperative. We want everyone to be satisfied. It's inclusive. Each person is deciding what they can have based on their own desires. They're communicating. It's internally controlled. I'm not being forced by an outside person, and it invites exploration to try new things. So before you can think about consent, you have to know, what are your own values? How do I say no? Or if I want to negotiate, how do I do that? It's important to know that negotiating isn't constant. So if I'm constantly saying yes, 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 and my partner isn't, then we're not negotiating. One of us is giving in. It's a way to say, I get this time maybe, and maybe next time we can go to the place that you want, or maybe we're going to go to a third place that we both like. It's about knowing how to bolster your own self-esteem and feel powerful. If I'm giving consent, that's how I should be feeling. And it's practicing my clear communication skills because I want to investigate that request. I don't just want to take it at face value. I want to talk it through a little bit more. The reality is people are assaulted as young people or as adults. So it's important to think about what would we say if someone were disclosed to us? I'm sorry this happened. This must be really tough for you. It's not your fault. I believe you. I'm so glad you're sharing this with me. You are not alone. Are you open to seeking medical attention, counseling, or help? You can trust me. This doesn't change how I think of you. These are just a few of the things that you can say. The most important is that they know that you do, in fact, believe them. So, what are some of the other phrases that people can say? We don't just want people to say no, but how do I show I'm enthusiastic? I really love it when there's something I'd like to try. I think it'd be super sexy if what you're doing feels good, but it'd feel even better if I have this fantasy about, I think it's really hot when there's something I'd like to try. And thinking about those conversations and phrases is to let a partner know what you really like. And then once again, it doesn't have to be sexual. I can say, I really love it when we sleep in. I think it's really hot when you make me dinner. There's something I'd like to try. And I can tell my friend that and say, I really want to go ice skating. I wanted to leave y'all with a few resources. Love is Respect is a great website. Love is Not Abuse. And then Men Can Stop Rape. Those are all websites that you can check out. If you want additional resources, maybe you want to talk to somebody, there's some phone numbers that you can call. So there's the Colorado Coalition Against Sex Assault, Project Safeguard, RAINN, which stands for Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. Joyful Heart Foundation is geared towards males so that they can have someone to talk to. And then Sisters of Color Ending Sexual Assault. All of these resources can help you or a friend when you need it.